Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so that you'll never miss a new episode.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the I Love Dentistry office hours. This is Narain, and you have with me my dear friend, Gary Tackers. Gary, in today's office hours, we're going to talk about photography tips. So I know this is a topic you're very passionate about. I know you believe that when people see what their mouth and their teeth in a way they have never seen before, they will be asking, what about this? What about that? So let's dive into this, Gary. And
one of my favorite topics, and specifically, we're going to talk about using digital photography for patient education. Let me state that I absolutely love intraoral cameras, and I really believe in using, intraoral photography with our patients as well. But that's a different application. Intraoral photos are more for the doctor or the hygienist identifies an issue, snaps a quick photo, and puts that issue up on the screen so the patient can see it, like a cracked tooth. And what intraoral cameras do is they tend to lead to doing more tooth dentistry. Your tooth is broken, let me show you, and we can help you with this. What these photos, we're talking about using digital photos for patient education, it takes the focus away from an individual tooth and broadens the canvas to show their arch, to show their smile. And when it's done properly, what digital photos for patient education does are that they help people focus more on what their smile looks like. And what we hear most commonly when people look at these 6 photos, by the way, there's 6 photos. We'll go through those with you today. What we hear most commonly, we hear 2 comments. Wow, I've never seen my teeth like this before. Naren, think how most people see their teeth. How do most people see their teeth?
I think when I'm brushing my teeth, when I'm in front of the mirror in the morning or at night, that's probably when I see my teeth.
Kind of a foamy reflection in the mirror.
Right.
The other way most people see their smile is in the vacation family photo. I guess, not everyone's been taking vacations this last 18 months. Go back to pre-COVID. And, maybe it was a photo in front of the giant redwood or the giant sequoia. And they're seeing it as, very much a distance photo. But when we take these 6 photos, let's go through the 6 photos. By the way, this comes from Dr. Frank Spear. And I want to give Frank credit because he's the one that taught me this system. So the 6 photos we take are, the first one's a head and shoulders photo. Just natural smile, head and shoulders, kind of like a portrait type photo. Number 2 is close-up retracted view. The patient holds the retractors, have them say E. The act of saying E makes their lips turn up a little bit like a natural smile, and ask them to open about 3/4 of an inch. So there's a separation between their upper and lower teeth. Patient holds the retractors. And that's a close-up, middle of nose, middle of chin, middle of cheeks. So you're taking that very close up. 3rd and 4th, we borrowed from our friends the orthodontists, and we take an upper occlusal view and then a lower occlusal view. By the way, in these photos, you're not actually taking a picture of the teeth. You're taking a picture of the reflection of the teeth in the mirror. You're using one of those hourglass-shaped mouth mirror. So the mouth mirror goes back, sits on top of the tongue for the upper occlusal view. And you're taking a picture of the reflection of the teeth in the mirror. Those photos aren't easy to take because the mirror can fog up, the cheek can get in the way, the tongue can get in the way. But with a little bit of practice, anybody can take those photos. And then the 5th and 6th photo are a left buccal corridor. So the patient holds a retractor and you place the camera 45 degrees down their buccal corridor. And then we do a right buccal corridor. So again, quick recap, head and shoulders photo, number 1, close-up retractive view, number 2, number 3, an upper occlusal view, number 4, a lower occlusal view, number 5, a left buccal corridor, number 6, a right buccal corridor. Who should take these photos? A team member. So in our case, it's either going to be a new patient coordinator or a dental assistant takes these photos. Hygienists could take these photos as well. And why is that? Many doctors will say, well, I have more experience, with taking digital photos. I guess I should take them. Darren, why should a team member take them? Because that frees the doctor up to be in another room with another patient doing something else. And there's another reason why. Oftentimes, when you take these photos, it sparks up a conversation with the patient. And in some cases, team members will be, or patients will be more comfortable talking to team members as they take these photos. Like they might say, Marty, I've never really liked my smile. Now all of a sudden we're into a conversation about that. Now they may or may not have that conversation with the doctor, but my experience has been they're often more comfortable talking to team members about this. So those are the 6 photos. That's how we take them. We have a team member take them. Now, as far as displaying them, we've learned in using nerdy technology talk, we've discovered a hack. Now, when you think of hacks, how do you like technology as much as I do? What would be a working definition of a hack? Because in my generation, a hack was someone that did a job very poorly. That was a hack. A hack like, man, that painter was really a hack. But today it means something very different, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, a simple way to think about it is I remember to watch a movie. In the old days, I would have to, get into the car, drive to a Blockbuster and, bring home the DVD, the cassette, not even DVD. And then sometimes it doesn't work. So I put a cleaner and clean that, video player. And then
It was an ordeal.
That's the hard way to do it. Hack nowadays is you press a button and it shows up on my phone, right? In other words, something quick and easy you can do. Of course, Netflix is there. I didn't create Netflix. I don't want to take credit for it, but a lot of the young people and anyone can find shortcuts. So it's like a short way to do the same thing. Classic example. I know you work with coaching clients, Gary. Sometimes you do one-on-one, but you found you could do video responses. That to me is a hack. So they get a response quickly and they get to hear your thoughts on a particular topic. So anyway, so that's just
Hack really is a shortcut.
Yeah.
And it's a shortcut that produces a more desirable result.
Yeah.
So
In other words, the result is not down. Result is as good, if not better than what you like. The experience on Netflix is better than my experience on a VCR player, but it's so much more convenient too.
So we discovered a hack on how to display. We used to display these photos on monitors in the operatories. We have 2 monitors in the operatory, one in the ceiling and one hanging off on a mount off of the dental chair. And we found that was useful, but some patients would simply look at the photos very passively and not really be engaged. Many people got engaged because they were seeing these photos for the first time, but some people didn't get engaged. And so we started loading them on a tablet and we'd hand the tablet to the patient. So the act of handing them something in their hand, that process alone got them more involved. But then we did something very specific. And again, this comes from Frank Spirit. I want to give him credit. So we'd hand you the tablet, and if I was the new patient coordinator, I might say, hey, Naren, you might remember when I took these photos of you a little bit earlier today in this appointment. Well, I've loaded the photos up onto this tablet, and I hand you the tablet. By the way, the tablet I like, and I will make full disclosure, I am an Apple fanboy. I am an Apple fanboy. I do realize other companies make tablets other than Apple, or I think they do. I'm kidding, they do. But I happen to like the iPad Pro, because the reason I like the iPad Pro is the big, huge screen. It's 12.9 inches diagonal screen. It's a big screen. So I want to put these images in the biggest screen as possible. So now I hand you the tablet and I say, Naren, this tablet works just like your smartphone. If you want to see the next photo, you take your finger and flick it. If you want to zoom in anywhere on these photos, you can take your fingers and pinch out and zoom in to infinity. Now here's another hack. We make an excuse to leave the room. Naren, doctor and I need to take a look at your digital radiographs. While we're doing that, would you do me a favor and look at these 6 photos that I took of you? And while you're looking at them, make a mental note of any questions you have. And when doctor and I come back in the room, we'll be happy to answer any questions you have. And now you leave the room for 2 to 3 minutes max. And this is not necessary, but it will enhance your results. And here's why. When a patient is left alone, without anyone looking over their shoulders, without any fear of critique or criticism, which of course you wouldn't do, they are free to peruse at their leisure, and they get into these photos. And they get into to these photos for a very simple reason. What's everyone's favorite topic?
Me.
Themself. And they've never seen their teeth like this before. Now all of a sudden they can zoom in.
Yeah, I think what I like about this particular hack, Gary, is you took some first principles, which is Cialdini's first principles, and you applied it. One of those is, when they commit to something, they're more likely to do it. So when you give that excuse and say, hey, can you take a look at it? They're like nodding their heads. So they're committing to do it. Second is, I've noticed this even with a 3-year-old or even my 85-year-old mom. You give her an iPad, like they start touching and doing stuff with it. It's automatic. It's a habit. It's like the minute you have an iPad, you have to do something with it.
And especially the iPad Pro, because actually very few people have that big. And they're like,
it's cool and it's
this big.
Yeah, exactly.
They're really into it.
So you're again tapping into a habit they already have. And then I think that silence you talked about, you leave the room because they're worried about people judging them. When you leave the room, they're much more open to do whatever they want. It's like when that camera is watching us, we are careful. When it's not, we just ourselves.
You're natural,
it's like somebody on a Zoom with the video turned off. They might be like, doing all kinds of things.
And what we find by combining all this together, when doctor and in our case, new patient coordinator walk back in the room, almost every time the patient is initiating questions. Hey doc, what's this? What's that? I didn't realize my lower teeth were so crowded. And recently a client shared this with me, and it was, I'll relay it. I won't use his name, but I'll share the story. And the client told me this fun story. He said, Gary, we're loving this idea of loading them up on the tablet, and we are getting lots more engagement from our patients. And the other day I had an older female patient. She was 70 years old. And I came back in the room and she said, her name was Melinda. And Melinda said, hey doc, how come, and she pointed at the tablet, all these teeth are different colors. And she pointed to crowns that had been placed. This office didn't do them, by the way, this doctor, but she has moved over her life to different locations, different states. And she had these 5 crowns that were done at different times by different dentists. And so doctor said, oh, let me take a look. And he said, oh, those are all crowns. Those are restorations. Those were teeth that needed to be restored with crowns. And they were done over a period of time and likely done in different offices. So they don't match. It's, they don't quite match. And he said, does that concern you? And she said, it sure does now that I see it. So she was seeing it because he said, actually, one of them I would like to replace because, and he pointed it to, and he said, do you remember when this one was replaced? Now this woman was 70 years old. And she said, my good, no, I don't remember exactly, but I don't think I was 40 years old. So that was more than 30 years ago. It certainly got her mileage out of that crown, right? Yes. So that was one that required replacement. He said, the others actually look serviceable. But we could certainly replace those, and we could have them done by the same lab, and we could match everything so everything would match. And she said, yeah, I'd really like to do that. But notice how the photos initiated that conversation. And one of the things that's really cool, Aaron, and I do a lot of work with our clients on case presentation and case acceptance. In other words, how to present dentistry to patients in a way that motivates them to move forward with either necessary treatment or ideal treatment. And I find that if the patient initiates that conversation, dentists will have a much easier time talking about recommendations, as opposed to having to introduce a recommendation to a patient cold, not knowing whether the patient has any interest or not. Does that make sense, Naren?
Absolutely, Gary. Absolutely. I think, again, you're coming up with a hack because a lot of dentists are afraid to even have this conversation. Here, like you said, the patient is now starting to ask questions.
Let me give an example, a specific one that I've heard. Hey, doctor, I noticed in these photos that my lower teeth are crowded. Is there anything that can be done about that? That might be something, that's actually what I've heard said. I've noticed my lower teeth are crowded. Is there anything that can be done about that? Now, can we agree that it would be rude not to answer that question?
Yes.
As opposed to, let's say the doctor sees the crowding.
Yeah.
There's no signal that this is a concern to the patient. Now, a doctor might be thinking, should I introduce that to him? Is it overbearing? Is it judgmental? And all kinds of doubts that go through your
Yeah.
mind, as opposed to the patient asking a question, like, I noticed my lower teeth are crowded. Can you do anything about that? Well, it'd be rude not to answer the question. Another one that I've heard, older patient, very worn teeth. Hey, doc, these teeth look really short. Are they supposed to be like that? Well, no. And then we can share, and they're asking for information.
And sometimes, like I've noticed, an example when you're teaching, there might be two problems. Maybe one is coloring and one could be a broken tooth. And the patient is only interested in the broken tooth. So you can say, hey, by the way, this is what you wanted to talk about. So let's talk about that. Oh, and something else I'm noticing.
Yeah. And many times the something else is pointed out by the patient.
True.
Because and you're not going to get any earth-shattering revelations from the patient. You're never
Right.
going to hear, hey, doc, I noticed in these photos that the incisal ledge translucency on number 8 and 9 isn't quite what it should be. You're never going to get that.
Right.
What are you going to hear? I'd like them whiter. I'd like them straighter. I notice this one is really crooked. I mean, they speak to the obvious,
Right.
but now they're asking you for solutions. And it's powerful. It is perhaps the most powerful case acceptance tool that you have. Now, let's talk, kind of get let's get very granular about some details. I would like every one of your team members to be able to take these photos, ideally. Now, you might have some go-to. You might, in our case, it's our 2 new patient coordinators and our dental assistants are kind of our go-to. But I'd like every team member to be able to take them. That way you never have an excuse not to get these photos. Because I can grab a team member and she can take these photos. So I'd encourage you, Doctor, one thing to do is to schedule an in-service team meeting where you and your team, you'll give them some tips on taking these photos, and then take turns taking pictures of each other. What you're going to find when you do this is that 1 or 2 of your team members will kind of rise to the top as having some photography skills. And let them show your team members what they're doing to get a picture in focus, to get the tongue out of the way, to keep the mirror from fogging. And then it becomes kind of like a team teaching exercise. And you may only have to do 1 or 2 at the most of those in-service sessions, taking pictures of each other, to where every one of your team members is on board. So that's a quick tip. Another little quick tip is there's many ways to load the photos onto the tablet, onto the iPad. I like using kind of a combination of technology, but not full boat technology, because you can actually load them by Bluetooth. But I've run into encounters with practices where Bluetooth doesn't quite work the way it should. So you can purchase a photo card reader that plugs into the bottom of the iPad. And it's just what it sounds, a photo card reader. So you take the photo capture card out of your digital camera, slide it into the card reader, and it automatically uploads those photos into your iPad. Naren, I might ask you to put a link, an Amazon link, in our comments for what that photo card reader looks like as well. And then as far as cameras, let's give another tip. As far as cameras, many of you will have a very sophisticated digital SLR, a digital single lens reflex camera with maybe a ring flash. And that camera would be wonderful at taking these photos, except for one thing. It's massive overkill, and it's way more than we need. So I like a very simple dental point and shoot camera. Nara, would you mind putting a link for that particular Canon?
Yes.
It comes from PhotoMed. I do like PhotoMed as a resource. PhotoMed.net. Great supplier for clinical equipment, photography equipment. Great resource. And Naren will put that link. It's a Canon. I should know the number. It's a 570.
Yeah, I'll get you the numbers, Gary.
Yeah,
Come on.
put that in comments as well. Great camera. It's point and shoot. Rather than using a ring flash, it uses a plexiglass light diffuser, which allows you to take those intraoral, the upper and lower occlusal views very clearly, very focused, very easy. And it's point and shoot, and it's light. Dental assistants have an easy time with this one, and it is really the right tool for the job. So there's some tips to help you smoothly integrate this in the practice. Who do we take the photos on? Um, every new
Gary,
patient.
can I show the screen just to make sure this is the right one?
Yep.
This is the one, right?
Yep. There's the camera. SX740 Canon SX740. There you go. And by the way, leave it there, Naren. That plexiglass light diffuser plays the role of the ring flash, produces very high quality photo. And notice the size of it. You can kind of see it in her hands there. Very, very, very appropriate size. Very easy to handle. You can take photos with one hand. Very, very easy.
And they even have this thing called a close-up attachment kit. I guess that's this one, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Very easy.
They sell it as
They call that the close up, and that's what allows you to get the light source to be able to take those upper and lower occlusal views and the buccal corridor views. Very, very good camera. And then, Aaron, while we're here, can you pull up the Amazon link for the card reader?
Yes. So
It's a photo capture card reader for the iPad. And you'll see what it is. It's very cool. It looks like a little pigtail that plugs into the bottom of your iPad. And it makes it very easy to upload these photos. Just a wonderful resource. And the one I'm thinking of looks like it's white. It looks, there it is. It's the bottom one there.
this one, something like this.
The bottom, the white one.
Oh, this one.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. That's the lightning kit. Oh, this one
That's
looks
it.
like.
That's it.
That's it. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
There
So
it
I'll
is.
put lightning to it. I'll
Notice
put the
it
link.
plugs into the lightning port, which is the one on the bottom of the iPad. And then you plug the capture card into the rectangular part of that pigtail. Yeah. Perfect.
Thank you, Gary.
Who do we take those on? All new patients age 17 and older. Now, someone might say, well, what if the patient's 20 and they've never had a cavity in their head? Do you still take these photos? Yes. Yes. And we can compliment them on how well they're doing with their oral health and the fact that they do such a good job. They have never had any cavities, and we hope they never do. They need to continue, doing good home care and also being faithful about keeping up their future visits to our office. So yes, we take them on every patient 17 and older. And I will tell you, you're going to hear two things from your patients when they look at these photos. First thing you're going to hear is, wow, I've never seen my teeth like this before. And the second thing you're going to hear is some variation of this. Oh, yuck. What's this? What's that? Which is exactly what you want to hear because they're identifying things they don't like. Watch how much this will create patient involvement and interest in ideal health. Frank Spear often says there's nothing that you can do that will create more interest in ideal dentistry than using digital photos for patient education. If that's not a quote, that may actually be a word-for-word quote. If that's not a quote from Dr. Spear, it's a healthy paraphrase. And I believe it. I completely believe it.
Thank you so much, Gary. I think this is a wonderful session, and you shared some wonderful insights. Any final thoughts as we wrap this up?
The final thought is that knowledge is great, but until you apply it, you don't really get the benefit of it. So really, I've often said that knowledge without application is merely entertainment. I'd like to think we've been entertaining in this I Love Dentistry office hours. More importantly, I'd like to see some results. So hope you've got some takeaways to apply in your practice.